But see, that's the thing with this. I don't know, man. It's different because I remember when Legion came out, and I saw some people playing, and like you'd see some of the names pop up, and I'm like, oh, they're playing. And but man, I don't know what it is about this expansion because all of a sudden I've seen people I haven't seen on my little Blizz BattleNet for ages. I was like, that guy's still alive? It's like damn. And then especially last night I was looking at it. It's like a Saturday night, man, and this tells you the state of affairs because they act like this is like a gamer thing, but nah, man. I know these people they go to the club, they go to restaurants. These people have girlfriends, boyfriends, all that stuff.
They online.
They all lie. I looked at my list and it was just. I was like, yeah, we
yep.
getting old, motherfucker. It's like this is we're already in a retirement home, and it's called World of Warcraft.
Back with a new show deep in the basement. Professionalism turned off, screw the ad placement. Skit comedy trolling, plate full of dough. People get offended, you don't get the show.
And welcome to You Don't Get the Show because the gaming world is crazy and most people just don't get it. I'm Jay LaRock and I'm here with Randy. What's up?
What's up, player?
I'm telling you, with all these games that are coming out, man, it's getting harder and harder to do work. If this can be considered work.
As was our, 15-20 minute intro monologue into the film? You gotta go there and go, fuck, I have too much to edit.
That's like, cut. So, we got 3 new crazy stories, which, they're all weird in their own way. And the first one I just want to jump right into is this thing from Right Wing Watch, which, okay, granted, it's from a place that's actually supposed to watch the right wing. So the problem is that people can say biased things like that. So I'm willing to give them that. I'm not just going to go in and say. But it's interesting because what this is talking about, this article, is how people on the alt-right, which for people that don't know, those are people that go like crazy. Because a lot of people get it all mixed up. They think that if you say alt-right, it means like anyone who's a Republican or even everyone who voted for Trump. It's not necessarily that. Like, these are people that take it extreme to the point where they don't even really side with most of the things Republicans want. It's like they almost want anarchy. And a lot of times there's racism and nationalism and stuff tied up into it as well. So it's not really a great group. And you have some people try to get all offended when you call them that. But it's like the company you keep. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I hung out with the homeboys and they're shooting them up, even if I ain't shooting things up, am I going to really be surprised when the cops come and looking for us? No, I'm not. Now, it's kind of funny because speaking of a gang, they're recruiting these alt-righters on video games. And it's kind of interesting because if you think about it, they kind of profiled a lot of these people who end up kind of being like racist, even if they don't understand the true background of like why people are racist. Like, you think it's like simple. Like, oh, I hate black people, I hate Hispanic people. But a lot of these people have like this whole thing. It's almost like a racist Bible. But for a lot of these people, they search for these people in games the same way gangs people search out young people because they have like a problem with their life. Like, they're angry, they don't know what to identify with, they feel lost, they don't feel like they have friends, they don't have a girl, they have family problems, and they're playing this game all day. So they're being targeted by these groups like 4chan, who has their own little side things that are either racist or homophobic or misogynistic or things like that, and they're attacking people in games. And I have to say, I personally have never seen any of this. I don't know if maybe they can sense my color, my skin when I play these games. I don't know, Reddy, have you ever seen like anything that was like recruitment or political? Like, I mean, it's one thing to log into a game and someone types something offensive or says something, whatever. We see that all the time. But have you ever actually seen it where it seemed like they're trying to recruit or looking for people?
I was about to say, this sounds like another Wednesday night at League of Legends. But anyways,
yeah,
right. I have yet to ever see like the whole recruitment thing. But it's like the thing that gets me about the gaming community is like we're amazing people, but there's a couple of bad apples out there that it's like, damn. And you know, like for us that when we used to go to Red Eye, you know, like we've seen some things, we've done some things, and for like that type of group of people to go, damn, you know it's got to be bad.
Yeah.
And it's just like the thing that I never kind of understand as far as like the gaming community is just to that level of toxicity that sometimes gets in the games where you'll be sitting there like League of Legends is a key example. Overwatch is another one where you'll be playing and you'll just have these people go off on a tantrum because you did one tiny like little thing not right.
Yeah.
And
you can even pick the wrong class that isn't the hottest class.
Dude, and people go on a tirade on that game. And it's just like, dude, we're here to have fun. Like, it's not like we're playing a ranked match right now. You know, and even then, on a ranked match, it's like you have people that are just so like, and I understand this more so. So, like, the only other game that I've really been playing a lot recently, and I'm surprised because I put it down for a really long time, and then I picked it back up, and I'm like, damn, I don't know why I stopped playing this. Was Rainbow Six Siege. And they do every season, typical thing that they do. You have to do your like 10 placement range matches to get ranked. And it essentially, when you are unranked, it will just randomly throw you in games from platinum, you know, diamond platinum down to like copper, pre-copper. And it basically just sees how you do. And then based on how you perform, boop, it kind of like cues in on a rank. And you could always tell when you're in one of these like high caliber games, A, you die in 2 seconds. B, you have your entire team yelling you, what the hell are you doing? He's over here, blah, 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 do this, do that. No, don't pick that. Like, I just like to the point where I just want to like mute the whole team and be like, just let me play. you know?
Exactly.
And I laugh because I remember there was like one day, as a matter of fact, it was the first time that I got a pentakill in League of Legends. And I picked, of all people, this is years back, Trundle, the troll guy.
Yeah.
And I built him out based on his passive where he could hit and you'll leech life off of them. So I basically stacked life leeching abilities and attack speed. So base attack speed, I was already like almost 2.0 in attack speed. So I was already running up going whack, 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 whack with my thing. When I activated his speed buff, yo, that shit was just whack, 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 whack. That was literally, and I was hitting so fast, you could see my life bar just filling back up. So what's hilarious is I'm like, all right, I'll go top lane. I go in top lane and I am housing my top lane counterpart, like just handing his ass to. Every time he'd run away, I'd smack him, his ass would fall off. I'd go, excuse me, sir, you dropped this. Like, that's how bad of a butt whooping I was in. To the point I was like 3-4 levels above top lane. To the point where they could have their jungle try and gank me with their top lane, and I'd kill both the jungler and the top lane guy. That's how powerful I got. I snowballed completely out of control. To the point where a fucking jungler was like, hey, if you want a jungle, I'll go up because you're way more powerful than pretty much anybody here. And I said, okay. And I literally just started going lane to lane, just killing everybody. And what ended up happening is it got to a point where I was powerful enough where I knew, like, okay, if I can get into a fight, I may be able to kill them all, but I may need some help. And it got to the point in the game where we're all bottom lane. I'm hiding, and I'm like, all right, what I'm going to do is literally use the rest of my team as a meat shield. And if I can get in there and kill their 2 DPS, I'm going to take out the whole team. Sure enough, the fight breaks out. I just haul ass straight to their DPS, activate my speed buff, whack, 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 kick the shit out of the first DPS, go to the next one, whack, 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 and got to the point where I had 2 people attacking me at the same time. I dropped my ultimate, and you could literally see my health bar doing this, and then doing this, and then doing this, and then doing that. Like, it was just going down and going up, going down and going up. Bro, and it got to the point where the last person that I needed to kill was their mid lane, and she was trying to run away from me. And it got to the point where she kept running, and then, like, you could see I was catching up to her. I was putting up the stupid ice wall thing to slow her down. And she just, like, finally gave up and just turned around and went, like, just was auto-attacking me. She's like, all right, go ahead and kill me. But, like, it was funny because people were talking so much shit to me, like, "Oh, you're going with Trundle? What are you, crazy?" Blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the game, I'm like, "Huh? It's funny how I don't hear anybody talking shit anymore."
Well, that's what I always wonder. That maybe that'd be a good thing to study if there's a correlation between someone that just gets so angry in these games and that if they all of a sudden start being more like racist or homophobic or misogynistic or not. Because it's obviously not all of them. Because I know people have raged at Red Eye,
Oh, yeah.
and at least as far as I know, they're not that unless you come find out years later that they had like a Nazi museum in their basement or something.
Damn, John was fucked up. He had Nazi paraphernalia all over his house. Who would have known?
But what's interesting is that I personally have not seen this. I played all types of games from League of Legends to Call of Duty to all this stuff where you think you'd see it. But it's interesting because in this article they're talking about how they'll like target these people, and also like in social media, like Discord is like a big thing where like people just hang in Discord chat rooms all day, and they'll do that here. And then what they'll do is they'll post these videos where someone is maybe criticizing the alt-right. So by the way, if that's what you guys think that this is, welcome. And then they would like go out like almost like an attack team, and they would like attack YouTube channels and comment sections and Reddit posts for anyone that's doing these things. And they were basically talking about like how you like recruit these people, like how you would get them, and you'd show them like all this information about like how you're being attacked and how you're being pulled down by all these different groups. And you're already probably sitting at home and you're probably upset or you're sad or you're depressed, and then you're hearing all this stuff. It was funny because in the Reddit post that was attached to this, there was a guy that kind of retold a story that I'd heard before, where they were saying that this one guy that he knew, like a cousin of his or something, got really racist because he met this group. At first they were just playing video games together. Actually, I think it was Rainbow Six Siege. And they got him in a group and they started sending him messages every day. And next thing you know, they send him those videos where it'd be like a black gang hitting a white guy or grouping up on a white guy and beating him up. And they just kept sending like all this stuff, and then they'd show him like all these other videos that would talk about like all these bad things that black people did. And it got to the point where all he was basically doing is playing this game with these people and then seeing all these articles, videos, and reports, and then he actually just started to believe it. Like every black person's like that, and he started hating black people. Right. And that's literally what it is. I mean, it's funny because they were saying how that's kind of like how ISIS gets people. Because you gotta think about when they get an American person who's like living at home in Iowa and shit, and all of a sudden they're flying to fucking Tehran or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, the reason why you go and you look at their posts on social media and you find out, oh, this person was depressed, this one was lonely, this one didn't have friends, and they met up with this group, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, man, what really sucks is I really thought back in the day with video games online, I thought it would be easier to break this shit apart. I really thought it would. Because look, I get it. My big mistake is I didn't think you could be that ill-informed with information. But I did not think that what would happen is you would isolate yourself into such a small group that you're getting all this information. You think you're informed, but it's bunk or bad or just one-sided information.
Yep.
And then that way you're just watching what you want to hear. And look, it happens. This is one thing I will say. It's not a Trump saying, but it does happen on both sides, that you can get into your little bubble and then just be inundated with whatever you want to hear. But it's just crazy that here in video games that you can see this. I mean, I could tell you that during the election, I mean, we were doing shows. I saw people mentioning like Trump. I would say at least like 10-1 to mentioning Hillary or Bernie. And whenever they did mention Hillary, it was always negative. And it's funny because I look back later and I didn't really piece it together because I didn't care if somebody came in and said, oh, I love Trump. I'm like, okay, so what? I don't care. But now that I go back, I think about it. Back in the day when I would log in League of Legends, and even you'd see people talk about Trump, and then if they mentioned Hillary, it'd already be the same thing. Oh, emails. They almost never said anything about, Bernie. And you start to wonder, are these just kids who are repeating something they heard, or some of these people getting paid? Could it be Russians? I don't know. But it's just interesting to see that this kind of stuff is leaking into gaming, and I guess we shouldn't be surprised.
I mean, that's true. I mean, it's one of those things where you can't, like, like you say, like you would figure, oh no, it's not going to be that bad, and here we are. It's like, holy crap, it's gotten bad. Like I've never seen like any type of recruiting thing or anything like that, which is like you said, it's like so weird, but it does happen, and that's the biggest thing where, in looking at something like this, when they do go back and look at like, oh, I can't believe, Alex was like this and he became this like extremist and blah, blah, blah. And then they're like, oh, look back at his history and all. And it's like, yeah, there was something not like all right there with him and all that. And I think that's like a big overarching problem that kind of has been happening is the people that kind of get tied into this and they're the easiest ones that get tied into it is somebody that has some sort of like mental issue or whatever it is. And I feel like we've put such a stigma in this country of, oh, if you have any sort of mental issue, like, yeah, you can't, this person can't do anything. You can't rely on this person. And I think that it's something that we need to break the stigma, because if you sit there and you look at it, like I think I was just watching a video of like one of the people that I've mentioned before in our podcast, Jim Sterling, where he did about a review of We Happy Few. And one of the things that he sat there and he talks about in the video is like, oh, the developer kind of like put this thing of like, oh, it like explores the whole thing of these people taking these like mood altering drugs as like a thing of like, not everybody needs to do them. And he just looks at the camera and goes, mate, he says, I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for these type of mind-altering drugs to fix brain chemistry, like I would have like crippling anxiety, depression, and all this stuff. He's like, if you really think we don't need it, tell you what, we'll go rent a cabin out in the middle of the woods and we'll hang out there for a week and I won't take my meds. And by the end of that week, you tell me if this is something that people do it just because they want to do it.
That's
and
like the beginning of a Stephen King book.
Yeah, and I sat there and I'm like, you know what? Like, he's freaking true. Like, there's people that depend on stuff like that to just operate normally. And it's like kind of messed up where you realize how human beings are like amazing, just machines that work. And sometimes you need help. Like the chemistry of the human body is just completely fucked up. Like any tiny little thing can completely change how you are, and I think that's one of those things where it's like you have a person that has that consciousness of like, oh, I may have this problem. I don't know if I have this problem. And they kind of feel resentful to want to go to a doctor to get any type of help for it. And they're the type of person where if you sit there and you look at it, it's kind of like, and I hate to bring this up as an example, it's kind of like those Nazis that were diehard, like, yes, Hitler's right and blah, blah, blah. Those are people that he talked to and convinced them, yeah, you know what, it's all these people's fault. And got behind him, because that's essentially what these kind of like groups do is they find a person, we're doing this and this and that, and they start bombarding you with this information. And then you sit there and you're like, yeah, they're right. And like, you don't kind of like make that decision for yourself type of a thing. And I believe it comes like one of the best things where I saw was an interview that I saw with Neil deGrasse Tyson. And the question that somebody asked him was, what do you think about these like flat earth believers? And he sat there and he said, it's not, that people, I can tell somebody what to believe and what not to believe. He says, what I see the problem is that we have a problem in the failure of our educational system, because these people are believing what they say instead of being curious and looking to find the answers to the questions themselves. And he's like, that's what education should do, is it should teach you to be like, to question stuff and say, hold on, I'm going to sit there and like fact check this. And I think that's what's happening is it's coming down to, you have people that are like, because like one of the biggest things that he asked him is like, what do you think about, is the world flat? And he's like, the only thing that can do a circular shadow is a perfect sphere. That's it. And he goes on to explain this, and it's like you look at it and it's like, damn, he makes a really good point. And like he's like, this has been proven time and time again back in ancient Greece. Like the Greeks were all about math, and they proved it, you know. And
I think some of these people need that though. I think they need to have a group, and you feel comfortable in that group. Because think about it, if you have it's almost anything. If someone's attacking you, so if someone says, "Of course the Earth is round," you're an idiot. For a lot of people, that makes you even hold on tighter. That group becomes more tight knit. You feel like you're brothers in arms, you know, us against the world. So sometimes, even if in the back of their head, they're like, I know the world's round, but you have this group who's fighting and they're with you, and you've never had that, and you don't want to leave that. So,
but yeah, it's just crazy just seeing how it is. I think there's just so many different things that happen in this world that we need to just wake the hell up and just like focus on fixing that problem. And I think like I agree with what he said in that sense, is like we need to fix the educational system just so that people want to think more for themselves and not just be one of those sheep that follows the flock type of a thing. But
and I thought that maybe getting a girlfriend or something would solve this. I was thinking, hey, maybe we could have a thing where, like, if a lady really feels like being nice to somebody, that they could be like, you know, rent a girlfriend. Which I know it sounds like prostitution, but we'd fix it so it wouldn't be. But obviously that doesn't work, because in our next story, a YouTube star dumps, quote, world's sexiest weather girl so they can spend more time playing Call of Duty.
All right.
Oh my God. I just think that's great, because you know what, before you go to story, because basically it's this guy, his name is FaZe Censor, that's his online name, and he has a channel where, you know, he's getting money, he's getting views to play Call of Duty and these other games, and it's like he like needed like a break, a time away from his girlfriend so he could play. And it's like, it's funny because you have all these people like attacking, but at the same time it's like, I could definitely see where someone gets into a relationship after, you know how they always say, like, you always want the girl until you have her. You know, you always want something else until you got it, and then all of a sudden it's just the same boring old thing. That I get the feeling that's what happens with a lot of these people, where it's like, if only I had a girl, I'd go out and climb mountains, I'd be active, and it's like, yeah, maybe for the first couple of weeks, and then you're back to playing video games, and she's standing there looking at you like, what the fuck?
Like the thing that was like that's funny about the whole like thing of this is, like you said, is he sat there and dated her. And it's almost like those, like, to me, when you sit there and you see like some like Hollywood person that they, you know, this like power couple or whatever, and you're like, oh, you know, so and so and so and so is dating and this and that, and then it's like you find out like years after, it's like, oh, he cheated on her, and it's like, I know friends of mine, they're like, why? Like, you've already hit the top of the mountain. What did you think you were gonna get by going to this other person? You know? And it's like funny because it's like you look at it and you're like, shit, like looking at this whole story of like the whole thing of like she decided to go back to Mexico City because she wanted to focus on like her modeling and this and that, which is cool because it's like, hey, this is what she wanted to do with her career and all that. And it's funny because you have to look at it like, you know, I've been married now, like going on 10 years. This year's our 10-year anniversary. And the thing about it is any relationship that you go to, no matter what it is, you have to have some sort of compromise with one another. And you have to be there to support one another. So that's one of those things where if she said to him, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to focus on my modeling career. I want to focus on my acting career. I want to keep going forward. He had the choice of saying, okay, I support you and all that. How can I help you to get there? Or he can do like, well, cool, that's your own thing. And this was what, you know, the result was. He ends up breaking up with her and blah, 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 because he's like, screw that. I'm going to focus on me. She wants to focus on her. I can sit there and tell you, if this is the end result of that, no matter how long they would have been together, their relationship was doomed from the beginning.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, like, if you sit there and you look at it, like my wife and I, when she got accepted into school in Massachusetts, and she turned to me and said, what are we going to do? Am I going to go and you stay here and this and that? I said, we're going. And she was just like, what? You're going to come with me? I'm like, yeah, we're married. We're going. Like, I support you. And she, and then you always get into those situations where it's like, what are we going to do for money? What are we going to do for housing? What are we going to do for this, and that? And that's the type of thing where you're like, you know what? We'll figure it out when we get there. Like, we go. I mean, and it all worked out. And it's the type of thing where that's how couples need to be for one another. Oh, you're having a hard time, this and that, boop, And it was one of the things that was amazing about us as well is when we first moved up here, like, I worked at one point, I think 3 part-time jobs at the same time. And then I ended up getting into one more like full-time, but I hated it. And she felt so bad. She was like, you know what? I'll get a part-time job and cut down on school and this and that, and we'll figure it out. I said, no, you stay focused on school. Don't worry about me. It'll all work out in the end. And that's the thing where I realized, like, hey, we're going through a rough spot now, but in the end goal that we're going to get to, it'll all work out. And that's the type of thing where, like, this type of a situation with this guy and all that is, I really feel that no matter what, this was going to be the end result. And he hit the peak of what he was going to get as far as, like, good looking and this and that type of a woman. And that's what you could see in the forefront, but you don't really know what was going on in the back front. And just the fact that he was like, hey, she wanted to do this, I wanted to focus on this, and we split ways, it wasn't going to work out. Regardless.
Yeah, and that's interesting, because that is one of those things that if you either don't have someone or you haven't had someone in a long time or whatever, it might be hard to see. Like, I mean, you see the pictures that we have up on the screen, and of course she looks great, but it's still your core, and sometimes people will be so desperate to look for someone that they just think if they can get anyone, it works. But when you know at your core that you play games, that you're more of an introvert, that you're this and that, sure, you can meet someone, they can inspire you, they can change you, they can bring things out in you that you haven't seen before. And that's good. But a lot of times you go back to your core. And it doesn't necessarily mean that's bad. I mean, honestly, if you're the kind of person who likes to play video games, watch YouTube, do these things, and you meet someone else that's like that, there's nothing wrong with that. Just as if you meet someone who wants to climb mountains, go bike, do all this stuff, go to the club, that's fine. But what happens is that if you actually want to have a meaningful relationship, either both of you have to really be able to compromise. And if you're so opposite, that's hard. Because, like, if someone's super active and they need to be doing something every 5 minutes and they're always looking for that next thrill, and then you're like, well, I'm going to sit down here and watch, the whole series of Battlestar Galactica. Do you want to join me? She's going to die. She's going to be like, what? No. Maybe I'll watch an episode, and then can we go biking? And then you're going to be like, oh, my God, I want to go biking. That's not going to work. And that's why it's funny, because I did see this thing a long time ago. They were talking about celebrities, and they were saying that a lot of celebrities, the reason why they date other celebrities is because of ego. It's sometimes just because they understand the lifestyle. So it's like, if you know that you're going to be on these sets for 10, 12 hours a day, maybe someone else won't understand. Like, oh yeah, I saw the hiccup. So to them, they're gonna be like, oh, why are you on the set? Or why do you have to go to the premiere? Or why do you have to do all this stuff? Even though these people may not be to that level, you can't discount that they both do kind of have their own levels of celebrity. Like, you can talk about being a YouTube or Twitch streamer all you want, but this guy is making money. He has viewers, so he has his own thing. That takes time. Like, I know it seems like whenever you see someone do a video that, oh, we just sit down and just do it. And in some cases, it's a little like that, but you still plan things out. And the more you do with your stream, the more you put into it, the more times it takes, no matter how someone tries to downplay it. And on her end, it's the same thing. Like you said, she's a model, aspiring actress, weather girl. So she has to do all these things just to stay, especially for a woman, just to stay on an upward trajectory. And if those two worlds can't merge, like you said, if you can't support each other and it's actually conflicting, it's better to just walk away, even if people will laugh and say, oh my God, she's so beautiful, why'd you leave it? It would have, like you said, it would have never worked.
Well, like, here's the other thing about it, like, looking through, like, the story and all that. Like, if you look towards the end and all that of what she tweeted out, and one of the last things that she tweeted out was, like, never listen to the advice of a person who has not done anything good with his life. Now, here's the thing. The thing that gets me is you look through the story. He met her in Mexico City. They moved in together in New York and lived together for a year, and then she moved back. And he was like, "Oh, hey, da da da." I was sitting there playing, like, I want to do this. I want to do the championship now. Not for nothing type of a thing, but you could technically play Call of Duty from anywhere. So he could have sat there if it was going to work out and be like, cool, so that we're not separate. I'll go move in with you down in Mexico City.
Right.
Because I'm pretty damn sure she's making enough money that she's living in a spot where she's probably going to have way better internet and all that shit and all that. Because let's face facts, and any type of country like that, you're going to have the like top tier, middle tier, upper class, middle class, lower class. I'm pretty damn sure she's not living in no lower class housing and shit like that,
Yeah.
Like, if she's working for a network and all that and just doing the thing, which I had to give because I cracked up at. And I'm pretty sure, like, seeing her, she looks familiar, and I'm pretty sure she was the one in the video. But it was like one of those videos on like E-Bomb's World where there was like, man, these Hispanic news stations know how to cast like weather girls, or like they haven't got what's going on, and it was like a video, I believe, of like her giving the news, the weather and all that. So it's hilarious because that's what I chuckled at it, and I'm like, yeah, that's kind of funny. But that's like the type of thing, like I said, is like she said, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do what's best for me. You can either support me or not. And in reality, like, he could sit there and say, like, cool, you know what? I support you, blah, blah, blah. Let's move to Mexico. No? Like, unless he had something that with whoever he's playing, that they say, no, you need to be in New York City, I'm pretty doubtful, because even if you look at, like, all these, like, professional teams that get put together that they're like, oh, like, they have that house that they used to play in, like, they usually are, like, in Los Angeles or something like that. So he could have even, if he would have gone to Los Angeles, which is, like, right there to Mexico, he could have gone to see her more often.
I think, like most times, there's two sides to a story. This is a really good you don't get to show story, because for people who don't get gaming, it also will seem extremely foreign. But at the same time, people in gaming will be the first to call this guy an idiot. And it's funny, like what you said with her saying, like, people who haven't done anything with their lives. Think about it. That's kind of like the mantra of someone who's always saying anything about anyone who is in gaming. And the thing is yes, you could look at this guy and say, oh, what's a Call of Duty championship? What do you get? A little bit of money and like 10 seconds of fame, and then you're nothing. It's like, okay, but as we've seen, you have people like Ninja and stuff. Maybe you'll never get to that level. But you have people that are even way lower than him. Like I said, when I compared it to the PGA Tour, you don't have to be top 10, top 20 to make money. There's people that make $3,000-$4,000 a month through Patreon and through subs and through things like that, and they're like bottom hundreds, of the world. You don't have to be the top. So this guy could be making his move, and this is his way to make money forever. He gets this championship, he gets more subs, he gets more viewers, he gets more notoriety, just like as she does more acting jobs, more modeling jobs, she'll get. So it's not, look, we don't know the behind the scenes, and maybe there's like underlying stuff, and what we see on the surface is just the most easiest way to split the sides. So she has people on her side saying, yes, you're right, go girl, and then he'll have guys on his side saying, yeah, you're right, dump her. But honestly, it's like, I don't think either side necessarily is a loser. It's just one modeling, acting that is accepted, where gaming is still on its way up. Yeah, so she's always going to win.
Oh, no, yeah. Like I use a good example is look at what's his name, Shroud, who is a professional CSGO player, retired, and now just streams on Twitch and basically pulled all the fans from that into live streaming. That's how he makes his money. I mean, look at Ninja. He makes a crap ton of money. Like there's reports of that dude making $500,000 a month.
Yeah.
Like that's insane, And like it's if you can sit there and take off something like that, if you're that good, like you'll get the views. And it's crazy. Like I said, it's to me, this is more of, it was doomed to fail if he was not willing to do the compromise. Like, like I said, if you don't support it, it doesn't matter if it was her or if it was like a regular person or a person that no one's ever heard of. Like, it's not going to work if you're not there to, like I said, you're not there to compromise with one another and to support one another. That's it. That's what it boils down to. Like, he could have been, like I said, she could sit there and go out with like one of us, and it's like, I'm not going to support you. That's it. Relationship's over, no matter what.
And if you think about it, both worlds are difficult because if you like gaming at all, you know it's going to take some time. And usually what happens is you replace that with what other people would do in TV. Because it's like, let's forget this idea, especially like we said, when we see Netflix numbers, subscribers, how long they watch it. It's not like if you're not a gamer, you're out there curing cancer and doing all this thing. No, we see that most of the public, if they're not playing video games, they're watching TV, watching Netflix, watching movies, on social media. So there's just being as so-called unproductive as we are. But if you look at the two worlds, gaming, especially if you're trying to go to the top level in championships and then be a streamer, and then acting, modeling, both those separately take up time. And true, it's like Randy said, you could probably go somewhere and play video games, but so much of the time you're going to be apart. And then that's where it comes down to, you got to ask your question. Do you want to be apart? Because when you're on a set, you can't have people around there playing video games on a set. And if you're really trying to practice to win a championship, you don't want to be in an environment where it's not comfortable. You don't have your setup. You're not ready. So it's just one of those things where, it probably doesn't work, but this makes for a good story for, that debate between gamer and not, especially when you have Alea looks really good and things like that. So it's really good. It's a really good fight for the gamers out there. Yeah. But for our last story, and I'm going to let you take this one since you know more about us, because I first saw this on Reddit, where I just get half of my stories anyway. Yeah. But it talked about how IGN was plagiarizing, and it's funny because it makes me think about this thing where there's a guy who had recorded, I think in Family Guy, there's an episode where there's a little spot where the guy's playing Tempo Bowl, and he's playing with Barry Sanders. Oh, no, Bo Jackson. And he gets the ball, and he's running around. It shows a trick in the old Tempo Bowl where you basically could get the ball, run.
Oh, we had the hiccup.
And all the way back to your end of the field. I saw the freeze again. And then you can do the whole swerving and past the defense to get all the way to the end, and you scored a touchdown. So basically, it was kind of like a joke about how you could run around with Bo Jackson and own everybody. Well, the funny thing is that after that showed on Family Guy, the original guy's YouTube video got flagged for copyright infringement. Because they're saying he stole from Family Guy. And it's like, no, Family Guy took his video, put it on their show. Yeah. Well, this ain't that. So I'll let Reddy tell us what happened.
So the way that I essentially found out the video is, I follow IGN and all that. So this game editor from IGN, whose name is Filip Miucin, he ran their Nintendo, I think it was called NVC. I think it's a Nintendo Video Chat. It's a podcast that they have. And this is when Dead Cells came out. And he did a review and all that, and I watched the review, and I was like, damn, like, that was actually a pretty good review and this and that. Like, I've been playing Dead Cells. If you have not been playing it, holy crap, go out there and get that game. Because it is, as they call the Metroidvania type of a thing, where it essentially randomly creates the level every time you run through it. It is a very difficult game, but like not Dark Souls type difficult, like enough to like have you play through and you're like, damn, that was fuck, I can't believe I died. And like you lose everything that you go through, but like as you go through the levels, you collect these like souls or cells that when you get to the end of the level, you can use it to purchase upgrades that become permanent unlocks. So as you go playing through the game, it gets easier and easier for you to like go through. So it's a really, really cool, like really well done. Like I have to give the game studio, I can't remember the name. I can't remember the name of the group that does it. Anyways, either way, they did an amazing job. Like I've been playing that game since like early access because I had heard about it. And from where it was at early access to where it is now, like completely different game, but so amazing. Anyways, so I look at this thing and then all of a sudden, like I see this video pop up in my home feed of YouTube that like it was the guy that did the original review for Dead Cells saying IGN stole my review. And in the video was this like small YouTube channel that the guy was like, oh, hey, I'm going through here. I noticed like this video came out from IGN and it's like almost a direct copy for my video. And I look through and sure enough, like he goes and compares his video review with the video review that this guy put up. And like to the point where like you can see early on he kind of like switches the wording around, but it's the same meaning to like full on like word for word what this guy did in his review is what's in Filip's review. So the channel that he pulled it from is this one called Boomstick Game. But like even to the point where not just word for word, like literally time stamped in the video, exact same timestamp, same pacing and all this. So he puts this up on Reddit and sure enough, you know how the internet works, boom, it gets back to IGN. So right away, literally same day that IGN put this review out, they pulled it and said, hey, we've seen that this has happened and we're going to go ahead and review this. And if anybody that's followed IGN before in the past, like there's been people that they've called them out on other reviewers like plagiarizing stuff and blah, 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 blah. So like they took this very, very seriously. Like I have to give it to IGN that they took it so seriously that they were like, boop, we're pulling the video. We're going to investigate it. We'll get back to it. A day later, like this is how much they freaking reviewed it. A day later, they're like, hey, so, yep, we pulled this review. Yep, we found that there's enough evidence that shows that it's plagiarized. And we actually have parted ways with this guy. AKA, they fucking fired his ass.
Yeah.
So then that sits there and goes out. And a couple of days later, and this is where the story really got interesting, is on his own personal YouTube channel, he released an apology video. And I sat there and I watched that video. And what's really fucked up about the apology video is, and the reason why I said apology is when you look through that video, he does not apologize. He kind of addresses like, hey, like there were these like circumstances where it kind of came out and you know what? I was the lead editor on this thing. So if these guys sat there and did it, ultimately it's my responsibility. Right away, oh, I didn't actually write it. It was other people. I should have caught this. All right. Then when he goes on to his like, hey, I want to apologize to IGN because, yep, you know what? I should have caught this and blah, blah, blah. I apologize to the people that made the game because like they deserve better for this. And then he kind of says, and like when it comes to Boomstick Gaming, like, hey, like, I remember what it was like when I was little and blah, 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 blah. And he goes on, he never apologizes and kind of like spins it of like, hey, thanks to me, your channel's going to get a whole mess more like things to it. Yeah. And like you watch through this whole thing and it's like, dude, like own up to it. Say, yep, I did it. Yep, I got caught. And I'm sorry. Didn't do that. On top of that, then he starts poking fun at one of Kotaku's editors, calling him out and saying like, oh, this, because like when you look at the Kotaku article, like the guy basically says like, hey, like I started looking back and I found one of his earlier reviews, kind of same thing that he did with it. So he sits there and he's like, oh, this guy's like trying to do the whole like kick a guy while he's down. You know what? I challenge him to find, or I challenge anybody to find other spots where I've plagiarized and all that, because you're not going to find it. Oh, big mistake there, Philip.
Yeah, number one rule, don't fuck with the internet.
Yeah. Don't fuck with the internet. Don't poke the bear in the cage, because guess what? That motherfucker going to break through the cage. And who did the bear break through the cage? Let me tell you. So right away, after he put this video up, I mean, if you, like, he literally took the video down. This is what's fun. I was going through and reading the comments that people were leaving, and let me tell you, internet, you guys fucking like gave the perfect, like literally almost every single comment is, oh my god, like how do you write an apology video and never actually apologize? Boop. Like all these comments. And then the other thing that was really, really fucking funny is, and you have to give it to the internet as well, every single video that IGN pumped out after, you always had that one comment of like, so which gaming website did you guys plagiarize this from?
Yeah.
You have to love the internet. Anyways. So it was like to the point where like there's this one guy that like worked, I guess I could, knew him as a friend. And his comment was like, dude, honestly, if I were you, take this video down because this video is going to do more harm to you than good. And then like I followed some of this guy's videos to the point where afterwards he was like, yo, I'm disgusted that, I supported this guy as much as I did once I've seen the real thing. Like, of course, he sits there and go ahead and find other stuff that I've plagiarized. Bro, here started coming out. Boop, 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 boop. Every single thing. Like his FIFA 18 review. His like his Fire Emblem preview. Like all these different things. Just started boom, 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 popping up. And of course, ever since then, you haven't heard hide or hint from his ass. And it got to the point where IGN even updated further their thing saying, hey, not only did we pull this dude's dead cells, but we're literally going to pull every single review that he ever did, and we're going to go on a one-by-one basis and compare them, and whatever isn't plagiarized, then we'll go ahead and put it back up. And let's just say it's been about a week, and not a single one of those reviews has come back up. And I think like one of the things when it comes down to it is, and you have to love the internet for how they do it. It's like, this is like the dude that took a college class and had to write a report on a book and like found somebody else's and said, the professor's not going to check. I'm just going to copy it and turn it in as my own work.
Yeah, they didn't even try and like put their own little words on it, twist it around a little, try to make it their. Nah, they're just like straight copy pasta.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's funny because if you look at like other outlets like the these guys that they were in IGN that they used to do the totally uninformed game show. I forgot the name of them right now. But like they've even poked out, like they're like, the thing about this whole thing that when you look at it as fucked up is typical thing that kind of happens nowadays. You do something, you get caught. If you apologize, especially like if you're in a really like open forum like that, you get caught. You have two options. You own up to it and say, you know what, I fucked up, I'm sorry. Or you try and do what this guy did, which is like, kind of push it all to one side and be like, no, like I didn't really do it, and hope that more shit don't come out. He done fucked it up the moment he was like, I challenge anybody to go out there and find other stuff. Because there you just opened up the floodgates.
Yeah.
Because then the microscope comes out and they're going to go in. Like, here comes the freaking, the otoscope that's going up the butt. It's going to find every little thing that's wrong in there. But it's one of those things, like, I feel if he would have come out and said, hey, yeah, I did it. I screwed it up and this and that. I'm sorry. People will be willing to be more forgiving than if he did what he did. And these guys pointed it out like, hey, you know what? You screwed up. You didn't apologize for it. You opened up the challenge to find it, and now they've done it. Guess what? You're never going to work in the game industry in reporting ever again. Ever again. Because the moment they're like, what's your name, Filip? Oh, yeah, you're the dude that did this. That's it. You're done. You're done. So, like, the big thing about it is, in looking at it, the positives that came out of this is, hey, this dude from Boomstick Gaming went from 10,000 subscribers to 40,000 subscribers overnight. So that dude's going to, like, get at least more out there. And my whole big thing of like the whole thing is that in the end, he's going to get something out of it. Like, whether it be like, hey, I'm now an editor for some sort of game website or gaming thing, all that, like, that would be amazing. And I mean, if you sit there and you look at it, it's like this dude ruined his entire career just by, getting caught plagiarizing, and that's it. It's like, all you kids out there in internet land, you think you're going to college and like, I'm gonna do this. You don't think you're gonna get caught? You gonna get caught.
Yeah, I've seen people who've done that with reports, and the professor puts it on that little thing that scans and see if someone else did it, and the person just straight copied it, and then you're asked out. You got no recourse. You're just done. And like I said, the problem with these like non-real fake apologies, people are too used to that. First of all, we've seen it from politicians, celebrities, rich people. So when you start seeing people just copy that same thing where they're not apologizing, but then try and like attack other people in their so-called apology, people ain't gonna put up with that. And then you throw in a challenge too. Wow. That's just, you just kept throwing strikes, just strike, yeah. And now you're out.
Yeah, I love it. So he posted a video response on YouTube saying that any Dead Cells plagiarism had been not at all intentional, and suggesting that he had not done this sort of thing before. He puts, "You can keep looking, Kotaku, and please let me know if you find anything." Oh yeah, the internet obliged. Let me tell you.
And that's the craziest thing about this is that, look, there's like, because I was reading the Reddit version of this, and it's funny because you always have these people that come in and they just, it seems like their whole goal is to try and just be counter. So if everyone is saying, yeah, this guy was wrong, and he did plagiarize, there's always that guy who comes out. It's kind of like what the guy said in his reply, that, oh, well, at least this guy that wasn't that famous is famous now. That doesn't mean anything. It's like, if you put in your work, especially when you're a tiny channel, and trust us, we know we're a tiny channel. If someone steals your tiny channel work, that hurts more than if you're big. If we're gigantic, we're still going to protect our IP. But at least it's like, well, we're big. We know that people are going to do this stuff. But man, when people are stealing your work and you're just trying to get hits and views and subs, you really are going to be like, really, guys? Really? And then this guy's done it over and over, because you have to put in work no matter what anyone thinks of this business. You have to put in work. You have to look stories up. You have to think of what to say. You got to do editing. You got people who are doing video gameplays. They usually don't just plug in and play. They usually play a few times through so it looks good on stream. You put your time in, especially for reviews. And for someone to come behind and they're getting paid for this too, to just steal your work, it's like, really, dude?
And that's
really?
the thing. That's the thing that they like talk about in IGN, how like they basically, if you get assigned a game, it's your job. Like, their ideal thing is you play the game from beginning to end, just one time, just to see what the game is, and then you play the game, and then that's where you get the video clips that you put into your review, and then you write your review, and that's how you do it. So they're doing this. So I'm pretty sure like they get early copies of the games. They have time to like go through and be like, all right, I'm going to play from A to Z. And that was the thing that like, what's funny is the guy that after him put out the review for Dead Cells was a person that in the IGN office put something like 300 to 400 hours into Dead Cells. And like, when he's like, yeah, I've played the game a bit, it's been about 300 to 400 hours. Like, literally all these other people went, damn, like they were looking at him like, oh, so you've played this game. And he's like, yeah, I've been playing it for a good bit. And like his review, like a complete 180 than for what this guy did. And he goes into and he talks about like, the game is like this, it's awesome for this, it's bad for this. Like, he goes into this like all little detail. Now, the thing that I laugh at here is in this article that you linked here, the lengthy list of allegations against Miucin now includes a Bayonetta 2 review that drew from Polygon, another smaller channel, a video that took word for word from a NeoGAF post, and a number of videos in which Miucin reads excerpts from Wikipedia about topics like Super Mario Odyssey and Shantae Half Genie Hero as if he had written them. The list even includes an Octopath Traveler article that copied from one of his own IGN colleagues' reviews, much to that writer's dismay.
Wow.
And then Tipsters have pointed me to dozens of instances in which Miucin took directly from other sources, some of which are rounded up here, and it has a link. Even his LinkedIn resume is copied from a job template website. And I was like, dude, like, Philip, if you're out there, dude, you did this to yourself. You opened the floodgates, and you needed to know that this shit was going to happen. And it's sad because, like, of course, now, ever since he took down that video, of course, all these media outlets are reaching out to him like, hey, like, let's do an interview. Give us your side of the story. Bub kiss from him. And, like, what's sad is, like, I've followed, like, some of the tweets that some of these other, like, IGN employees that worked with him and all that. And, like, of course, they're, like, you know, completely devastated. Like, decently disappointed, upset that it's looking more and more likely that we unwittingly hosted work that was directly lifted from, or at best, heavily derived from others. You know, I assure you are taking very active steps to remove it all and make it right. I feel betrayed, which is true. If he basically portrayed this shit as his own work, and it's like he lifted the whole thing. And, like, the thing about looking at how it is, it's like he took it from these smaller YouTube channels and things like that, thinking nobody's ever going to know this. And it's like, you have to, like, know that eventually somebody is going to do it. Yes. Especially if one of these smaller YouTube channels follows a channel like IGN and then watches the review and goes, that sounds familiar. Like, and here's the kicker about it. People can sit there and say, like, oh, it was like they came out around the same time. Like, let's say using this, they came out around the same time. Maybe they had the same wording, kind of, sort of. No. The Boomstick Gaming review came out a week before the IGN video. So it's not like, hey, he was writing this and release it, and you can sit there and be like, it kind of sort of the same because, hey, they could have had the same opinion. No. This shit was fucking, like, cut and paste. And I look at it from, like, our point of view. Like, we do this show. And we have our own opinions and all that. And I've seen reviews for Dead Cells. I've been playing Dead Cells. And I can sit there and tell you, I think it's a phenomenal game. It hits all the right points that it needs to for a game to be compelling, to bring you back to it. And the thing that I like about it is, like, you go through that game and it's like, damn, that was hard. But you get enough cells that you start unlocking stuff. And then you go through it again and you're like, oh, it was a bit easier this time around. And you collect more cells and you unlock more stuff. And then it gets to a point where you're like, all right, cool. Like, I can keep going further. Because, like, what I really liked about the Dead Cells game is it has that itch for people that like the Symphony of the Night and all that of, like, I want to upgrade my character as I go along. But it also has a neat little thing for people that love the challenge of, like, the speed run, because there's doors in each of the level that will stay open up to a specific amount of time. And then it locks. And the cool thing is if you're running through and you get to that door and it's locked, it'll sit there and tell you, hey, this door locked X amount of time ago. So you can see, like, oh, it locked a minute ago. You see how long you've been playing, and you're like, oh, I've been running around for 7 minutes. This thing locks at 6 minutes. So then you could sit there and, like, once you've upgraded a bit, be like, all right, I'm shooting for that 6-minute door. And you just start hauling ass through the level just to get to that door. Because that's the other thing is, if you actually get into one of those doors, it'll give you, like, it'll reward you with, like, a whole bunch of, like, cells, a powerful weapon, or maybe a blueprint for a powerful weapon, like, stuff like that. It unlocks in the game. So it gives you that incentive to do that speed run as well. So it's just, like, such a, like, neat thing. And, like, from playing it from early access to now, what's really nice between the retail releases, they've added a bunch of little cool, like, story element stuff to it, which is neat. But, like, hands down, really good, really good review, or a really good game. I highly suggest, like, looking at the new IGN review, because, like, you could tell that guy just, like, loved every minute of the game. And it's something that another thing that I look at as far as when I look at reviews is you can tell how good a game is by even watching other things that IGN does, like their podcast, and then they'll bring up Dead Cells, and they're like, oh yeah, everybody in the office has been playing it. Like, you know it's a good game if these people had work to do and they're freaking playing this game because it's so good of a game.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just great. And if you want to sit there and see a awkward moment, yeah, watch the podcast, the Nintendo Video Chat podcast, the one right after they fired his ass, that they had a new host, that he's just like, hey, so welcome to the show. As you can tell, I'm not your normal host. Like, it is just the most awkward thing of this dude looking straight at the camera and be like, so as you guys know, some stuff has happened. It's freaking internet gold, let me tell you.
Well, that's one of the things. It's like, if you're going to do any type of thing with YouTube, or starting out as a website or anything, any type of channel or thing that you're trying to do, you have to care about it.
Yeah.
And I'm part of a group that works with like smaller YouTube channels, and new people are new to YouTube. And one of the things that they always say, which, may sound cliche, but you got to love it, because, man, the chances of you actually having some like gigantic channel with millions of hits and money is extremely slow and low. And if you think that's going to happen quick, it also probably isn't going to happen. So you really got to like to do it. It's like, I knew long time ago when we started Obsolete Gamer that long format interviews and even talk shows aren't as popular as a lot of other things. And that's why you can see certain channels will almost have like a flavor or a style, and you'll see that works because people like that style. But I said, I like doing this style, and by that you understand that you're probably not going to have tons of people, but you like the people that you do get, and then you take the time to put in on the things that you like. Because yeah, sure, I could take the same amount of time that we do in these shows to do like gaming reviews, which would probably get higher hits and views, but that's not my thing. Like, I'm not great at the video game review. I love video games. I play a lot of them. I can give you information about it, but for people, some people really like specific things when they listen to a review. So leave that to them. I don't understand how someone says, hey, I'm going to work for IGN. They have this standard of reviews, this standard of quality, and I should love gaming. I'm doing this, but no, I'm going to copy instead. Like, to me, that makes any sense. It's like saying, oh, I love writing, I love books, and then you steal someone else's book. Or I love filmmaking, you steal someone else's film. Like, that's not how it works. So that's why people like that I don't have any sympathy for, because there's millions of us out there who love our work, love what we do, and we fight every day. And we know that we're probably never going to make any money, or not any serious money, but we do it anyway. So you take pride in being the little guy, because you never know. Maybe someday someone will steal your shit, and then you'll get more popular.
You get 20,000 subscribers just like that. Like, come on, somebody plagiarize this show, please do it. But it's like, I know we've been like going forever on this thing, but like the thing about it is, like, before I started doing this with you, because I remember like we communicated every so often. We would chat through, whether it be BlizzardNet or whatever. And I remember you used to do this with Ignacio before, and you were like, our schedules are always conflicting, so it's hard to get us to get together and da da da. And like, he loves doing the gameplay videos on the Obsolete Gamer channel. And you were saying like, yeah, he always just records whatever he's playing and then throws it up and records whatever. And like, that's his passion of like, I like doing this, and he puts it up there. And in reality, it's not a game review and all that. And that's the big thing, is like, there's people that love to do that, and there's people that'll get a ton of views doing that. Like, honestly, I think if Ignacio were to not only record what he does, if he were to stream, given enough time, he'd probably have a good following of people.
Yes, especially that game, which isn't as popular, but he's good at it. Yeah.
Like, you'll get people. It's amazing. And that was the thing. I remember like the first time you're like, hey, you want to come like try this out? And I'm like, fuck it, let's do it. And that was when I was doing on my own channel, like the board game reviews and all that. And like, the thing about it was like, I liked doing it. I liked giving my opinion on it. My only thing was like, it was just so hard to like get the time to be like, okay, I'm going to film it. Okay, I'm going to edit it. And this and this and that. And I'm like, I'm okay at editing. I'm not great at it. So that was another thing that was just like, I like doing it. It's just like, I wish I could do it better, which like this outlet of doing this, like, I'm at the point where I want to be able to copy the videos off on my channel as well, just to add them in there. So at least my channel as well gets some kind of like thing to like pull people over into our the Obsolete Gamer one as well. And it's just like, man, you got to find the time to do it. And it's like, you got to do it as a passion thing. You know, that's what pretty much all the big YouTubers out there have said. Like, you got to do it as a passion thing. You got to do it. You can't go into it thinking, I'm going to make $500,000 a month. No. Shit ain't going to happen. Ask Ninja when he first started how it went. He's going to tell you it sucked ass. But from him grinding and doing it, and that was his passion, and blah, 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 like, look at where he is now. It took him years to do it. Same thing with Dr. Disrespect. Dr. Disrespect didn't come out of nowhere from 0 followers to the millions of followers that he has. He's put the work into it, you know? And that's the thing, is like, you have to do it as a passion project. Like, I love all the stuff that I did with the reviews. I love coming on and doing this show with you and doing the inappropriate questions and doing Geek Salad. And like, if you look at it, we came up with Geek Salad as a side thing of like, let's do this other show. Let's do this other show. Like, I love doing this shit. It's just such the real life gets in the way for us. Sometimes we can't record as much as we can, but it's so much fun to do. Yeah, that's what I love doing. Like, I'm glad we started doing this because this has been fun as hell doing this.
Oh yeah, definitely. And we're also glad for the people that do listen to our show, because yeah, we're not big, we're not huge or anything like that, but the people that like us, and we like you. So we hope that you'll continue to listen to our entire Obsolete Network gallery of shows. But I mean, yeah, don't plagiarize, because the internet will come after you.
Don't plagiarize, and don't challenge people to find your plagiarized work, you know, because they will find your shit. It's like murdering somebody and you got away with it a couple times and then you got caught and you said, no, I've never done this before. I challenge anybody to find me that I killed somebody else. And they're like, oh, we go find it.
Especially in the back of your head, you know it. You know, like, that's why I never understand about politicians, where a politician know they've done all this bad shit, and then they go on TV and be like, well, you know, I've never done this before. This was a one-time thing, and I'm really sorry. And the next thing you know, it's like another story. It's like, bro, you knew you did this shit. If anything, you should have went on TV and just been like, I'm so sorry. I'm just going to disappear now. Goodbye. And then maybe they'd leave you alone. But, man, don't challenge the internet, man.
Yeah,
don't.
dude. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to be back very soon with another You Don't Get the Show. But once again, thank you for listening to us, watching us. You can catch us on our Podbean app. We're on Google Play. We're all over the place, man. All over the place.
We're on Podbean.
That's right. So you can find us everywhere. And we really appreciate that you do. And of course, hit that like button, subscribe button, leave us comments, tell us what you think. But until next time, I'm J.A. He's Randy.
Peace.